Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Ceylon. Let's check it out. To set up for the game, each player is going to get their own little player board here. They're going to put their own little tea leaves here on the areas here. They already have one placed out on the board, which I'll show you in a minute. They'll have some in-game scoring instructions here. Here, you will shuffle this deck of tiles here and randomly distribute them out to the players. The one with the lowest number will go first on there, and they will give them a little small one-time bonus in the game. And you can read the instructions for each one of these, but for instance, this one, whenever you get coins, you'll get more coins, 5 more coins on this. And once you use it, it's flipped over. You've already used it, you can't use it anymore. They have a little area for tech tokens, which I'll talk about in a minute. Everyone starts the game with 15 rupees here, and rupees come in denominations of 10, 5, 2, and 1. And they'll also start off with 1 black tea. The other types of tea are green and white. And as I get to the board in a minute, it'll show you, hey, anything on the bottom floor, because this is a leveled game here, is black tea. Anything 1 level up is a green, 2 levels up is a white. So what do I mean by levels? Well, let's back away and show you this amazing board here. Look at that. So as you can see on the board here, you have, you'll start out by placing out these little odd little shaped areas here, and you can place them out in one of the 4 areas each. Now, there's an extra one that comes with the game. You're always going to just mix these up and then plant them, and each one of them go on almost any way on any one of these islands. So you'll always have a different type of game all the time. It adds to the replayability here. You're also going to have set out a deck of cards right there, and each player is going to take 3 cards into their hand here. They'll also have disc. You'll have a starting disc there on the score tracker, a starting disc there on the tech track, which the first player will be at the bottom as the last player will be on top. They'll also have 4 additional little tokens that they'll be using in the game to gain favor with the 4 people who kind of run these 4 little lands here. We do have a nice little first player token. It's a bubbling pot of Serenity tea there. And also, what you're going to do before starting the game is you're going to shuffle through a deck of superpower cards for each one of these 4 people and randomly distribute them out there. They give them little extra abilities in the game if you have favor with them. I'll get to what that means in a minute. But again, it adds for the replayability because you're always shuffling different tiles. There's 4 extra in the game, so no 2 games will be the same. You'll also have these little tokens over to the side area here. If a player is able to plant tea fields in all 4 regions, that first player will get 10 points, second player gets 6, third player gets 3, first player gets 1, fourth player, the last player to do it, gets 1. You will also have your little train tokens here. These are cardboard tokens. You'll place them here and then place 3 of them out randomly. And then each player in player order is going to pick one of the 4 lands to plant a tea field in. They'll take the little tea field token, which they start with. They'll take that tea leaf, which I showed you earlier was on their player board, but they moved it onto here. And then they'll place the little man on that field as well. Now, if yellow player played here in this region, that means blue and pink could not play in that region. They'd have to play in one of the other regions, which as you see, pink chose there and blue chose there. Now, one of the rules is you have to be on the bottom floor, which is this. Second floor would be one of these tiers, and then of course, in setup, they give you an extra little token to represent the 3rd tier, which is where white tea is found. You may not set up in any of the elevated areas, just on the bottom area. And you can be next to an elevated area, that's fine. But the only rules are, it has to be on the bottom floor, and you can't be in the same region as someone else. So after you're done with that, then it's ready to play the game. Gameplay is very simple. you're going to play one of these cards and take one of the actions, either the top or the bottom or one of the two in the middle. So let me go over what each of these actions are. The first action, and let me just go to the middle ones because these are base actions that you can do on any turn. You can move or get coin. Now get coin is pretty self-explanatory. If you use this one, you get 2 rupee from the bank. If you use the feet marker, that means you get to move. And you get to move 1 space. And it can be over rivers, it can be on top of elevated lands. Even if you were here, you could jump to the top of a land there. That'd be quite a climb. But you could do that for 1 movement. Now, if you want to move any additional spaces on your turn, you have to pay rupees. So for instance, if I wanted to move 2 spaces, 1, 2, that would cost me 1 rupee because that one was free. This one costs 1. If I wanted to move 3 spaces, it would be 1 for free, 2 for a coin, and 3 for 2 coins. And as you can see, this will really add up, so a total of 3 coins. And if I wanted to move an incredible 4 spaces, free, and then I moved up here for 1 coin, that for 2 coins, that for 3 coins, it can be very expensive moving around the board super fast. But that's a base action that anyone can do on the card. Now, these other actions are very unique because they let you do unique things in the game. The first one lets you plant. If you're in an area without a field, it could even be with another player, that's fine. And if you choose the plant action, what you do is you place this card right here on the game board, and as you see, you can place it either way, upside down or right side up, and whatever action is showing on this angle, that means that's the angle, that's what action you're doing. The other 3 bottom here shows the action that everyone else can do. So if I was planning, everyone else could do tech, or at any time, any players can do the middle action, including yourself. But if I play this card down like this, then I would get to take the plant action. What I do is take another field and place it there, and then from my player board that I showed you earlier here, I would remove the next tea leaf here in order. Now here, there's 2 of them. Would you take 2 out? No, you just take 1 off and leave the other one there. I'll get to what that means in a minute. But anyway, you're going to be putting that 1 tea leaf there, badoosh. And of course, other players can be on there. Now, the only time I couldn't plant a field, if I was on another player's field, I could not plant on top of their field, obviously. But whenever you plant, it costs 5 rupees. Now, the other action is to harvest. Harvest costs nothing. And if you want to harvest, of course, I'd have to put this one upside down to show I'm harvesting. And what that means is I could harvest on my field or anyone else's field, and I would get those amount of cubes. Let's say this is what the board looked like, and yellow player wanted to harvest. Well, they can get 1 black cube for being here, and they could get 1 green cube, and they'd put it in their player board for harvesting here. Now, if they wanted to, they could get an additional black cube for harvesting in Pink's field. Solidify that, there you go. That's Pink's field. If they did that, they would get an additional black cube to put in their player board, but for reaping on Pink's field, Pink would get a victory point. For every field that someone harvests that's not their own, you're giving that player victory points in the game. But it allows you to get, more tea. And of course, if there was a field up here, you'd have to be next to it because you can only harvest the area you're on and the areas that surround you. So in this case, he would get a green and a white, and he wouldn't have to give anyone victory points since he owns both of those fields. So that's how you get different tea in the game. If you look down at your player board here, you do have a spot where you can hold up to, and it says a max of 5 tea. If you get more tea than that, then you have to discard some of it. But that's one of the actions on harvesting. Now, another action you can do is selling. Here, if you choose to sell, you may take any of the tea cubes in your area and fulfill one of the contracts up on the train track there. So for instance, if I had 2 black tea and 1 white tea, I could exchange them in, and then I have a choice. I can get 4 victory points or 12 rupees. Remember, money's tight in the game. You may want to take the rupees at first, but eventually you'll be wanting to take the tea points there. So what you would do is you would place this down on your player board like so. You've completed the contract, it's a ticket, and you place it there. Now, as long as you have openings meaning you've planted enough fields, you can get more different numbered trains. For instance, if there was a 1 contract, I could put it here. If I got a 2 contract, I could not take it because I do not have an opening for a different number. However, if I took another 1 contract and I fulfilled it, I could place it on top of the 1 track. Now, this is going to garner you extra victory points in the game. There is a little player aid that tells you, hey, when you're stacking up those orders, you will get bonus points if you do more than 1. So, but that's how the tickets go. You can only get different numbered tickets if you've planted more fields, and it allows you to get more open areas. So that's what the player board does there. Now, of course, once you fulfill an order, you'll get the next card off the stack and put it there on the railroad track, and there's 3 more available, like so. But that is the sale action there. Now, the other action you see here is getting favor with one of the 4 bigwigs here. To do that, of course, in this case, I had to flip it upside down, indicating I'm doing it, and then all the other players can take whatever actions on the bottom or take any of those 2 middle actions, grabbing coins or moving. But anyway, getting favor with them, there's a rule here. I have to be in that area to buy favor with that person. And if you see, buying favor, it costs 5 coins, 5 rupees. So I would have to spend 5 rupees from my own supply, and let's say in this case I'm buying favor with Rahuna. Well, I'm going to take, and each player has these 4 additional discs of their color that they can use to indicate they have favor with these people. And so I'd place it here showing that, hey, now I have favor with him. Now I can take advantage of his special ability, which means instead of me holding a max of 5 cubes in my storage room, I can now hold 6. And each one of these are kind of self-explanatory. This lady here lets you, every time you take the action to take 2 coins, you'll get an additional rupee. So anyway, and like I said, you can mix them up as well, so they'll always be different, but that's how you can get powers for that area. Now, it also helps with in-game scoring, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I cannot buy favor with someone who's outside of this region. Like, I couldn't go up to Candy and buy favor with him because I'm not in his region. I would have to be in his region in order to play that card and buy favor with Candy. So that's how buying favor goes. You get little bonuses there, and it helps with in-game scoring. The last action you can take, of course, you can only take 1 action at a time. It just goes around the room where every player is playing 1 card and taking 1 of these available actions, either the 2 in the middle, the 1 on top or bottom. Is take the mechanic action. Here you have to pay 5 rupees, and then every other player gets 1 rupee because they benefit from your new invention, whatever it was. Now, if that's the case, then you are going to go up the mech track here by 1. And then you're going to take 1 of these little mech tokens. Now, there is a spot on your player board that is where you would keep all of your little mech tokens. Tech tokens would be right here. And so you put it just like that. Now, you can have as many as you want, but you can only play 1 per turn. And what this tech token does, it lets you do any of the previous actions. Besides getting tech, you can't get tech again, but you can get any other action for free. So, for instance, maybe I moved 1 and I want to plant. Well, I can use my tech token to take an additional turn and plant. I don't have to play a card. I just play my tech token. So they're basically wild cards that can let you do anything. I can grab 2 rupees with it. I can move again with it. Or maybe I want to sell with it, whatever you want to do. Of course, you cannot use it to purchase tech again. Now, going up the tech tree is very important as well, because this breaks ties for anything at the end of the game if there's any ties. Now, if a player is on top of someone else, then that is the tie breaker as well. And I'll get to what that means in a minute. But that breaks ties at the end of the game. So what you're doing is you're going around and you're taking all those actions. The game is going to end in 2 ways. 1 would be you run out of cards in that deck, or 2, someone sells or someone plants the last tea leaf. As you see, there are 5 different types of trains, so they don't have to sell the last tea leaf yet, but if they wanted to end the game, they could and sell that last tea leaf to end it. So you get to choose. You can also choose when the game ends as well. At that point, then you're going to add up majority. And whoever has the majority in each one of these, in fact, on your player boards here, slide all this off, it tells you, okay, whoever has the most coins, first player gets 10, second player gets 6, third player gets 3, fourth player gets 1. Whoever has favor, majority here, will get 10, 6, 3, and 1. And the how to count for majority is you have to be in favor with them. So let's say it looked like that. Well, who would win this area? I would, because pink does not have favor with Rahuna. I do. So in that case, I won, because pink can't be in it. Now, blue can't even count for any victory points. Neither can pink get second because they didn't have favor with them. Blue didn't even have a field in there as well. So even if blue had favor, let's say one of their favor tokens were in here, but they didn't plant a field, well, they wouldn't get any points either. So that's how you can score points for each area. So you want to kind of plant in all 4 areas, and you want to be in favor with them to count. Now, if there was a tie, let's say that blue did have favor and he had 1 field in there too. Well, who would win? Well, then we go to the tech tree and we'd see that, hey, yellow is beating blue, and therefore in a tie, yellow wins. And of course, whoever has the most majority in each one will get additional victory points. Now, I should also mention on the tech tree, if you make it up high enough, you can get a bonus 5 and 10 points, or another 5 points, I should say, if you keep moving up the tech tree there. But anyway, the other thing you can get bonus points for is your technology. Whoever's highest up the tech tree gets 10 points, second place gets 6, third place gets 3, fourth place gets 1. Also, you count up your trains. How many different trains did you have? How many different numbers? And the numbers are 1 through 5. And if it's kind of like set collection too, the higher the set, the more points you can get. Now, in addition though, any extra tea leaves you have on your board at the end of the game are worth -2 victory points. So after all this, you'd add up all your victory points, and whoever has the most points wins. Final thoughts, what do I think about the game? Well, folks, you know me, I love tea. I love drinking tea. I already have a tea game already called Darjeeling that I love. And when I saw this one, I was like, oh, another tea game. I have to have it. Now, am I the guy that gets every tea game out there? No, because there are some new ones coming out, and I have zero interest in them. But this one looked interesting, and let me just say, it is a great game. It's a great game. The replayability is amazing. All the little souks, or whoever they are, they have different abilities. You can shuffle them up every time. You can start off with a starting ability. It's not that powerful, but at least you get it one time only, and you will use it. You will use it in the game, even though it's not that much. I love the artwork. This has a glossy finish to it. It's really nice. I love how you can set up the levels, and the board's very maneuverable. I love all the actions. It's a very simple game. Sometimes you're trying to determine which card will not benefit my opponent. You know, like I couldn't find any sell cards, and suddenly this guy did a plant action, but at the bottom was a sell action. I was like, yes, I can finally sell. So much great strategy in this game. The game goes, it feels like it goes pretty quick. It probably takes a little bit over an hour to play with 4 players, but to be honest, you are never bored the entire time, because every card that's played, you have a decision to make. What are you going to do? Are you going to do that top action? You're going to do that bottom action. If you're the other players, do you do the bottom action, or do you do one of the middle actions? Money is tight in this game, so you'll be grabbing those 2 rupees as much as you can, and maybe if one, and it's another thing, those little abilities you get for getting favor with the nobles, oh man, if there's one that you're like, oh man, because there's one that gave you a discount on planting, and I was like, I need that. Or one that lets you plant in surrounding gardens too, if you have the money. And I was like, ooh, that's a nice one too. I planted 3 tea fields all at once, and I went broke after that. But there's so much gameplay on this. I love set collection on the trains. You get to decide, either the card deck runs out, which has happened a few times, or it mainly happens, you can decide when it ends when you remove your last tea leaf. You don't need to plant that last tea field, because you'll have all 5 slots open, and you can start taking orders left and right. And at first you're going to be taking a lot of money, because like I said, money's tight. After a while you'll be taking victory points. Harvesting from other people's field, I thought, oh, we're never going to do that. We did it all the time. You're going to give them victory points. The tech track, very important to move up that tech track, because those tokens are invaluable. There are times when you want to do 2 back-to-back movements, because, man, I just planned this. I need to harvest it so I can sell next time. You know, you're trying to lay out your plan. So getting those tech tokens are very important. And at the end of the game, it's enormous, because you're the tiebreaker. I won a game only because I was up on the tech track. And so I started winning the majorities in those areas and got those bonus points. Great game. Like I said at the end, you're barely moving up the victory track, by the way, during the game. You won't go very far. I don't think anyone hits 20 points in the games we've played. But then afterwards, when you're adding up all those bonus points, you start zooming around that track, and it is exciting to see, especially when you're stacking up the contracts and how much you get for that. And lot to love about this game. And did I mention the artwork? I think I did. It's very calm. It feels like a tea setting. It's a little afternoon of tea here. I don't know if this game is in print anymore, but I don't know how much it is used. It may be a little bit. But to be honest, the components are A+ quality, and this is a fantastic, phenomenal game. I'm so happy to have it in my collection. Which tea game is my favorite now? I have no idea. I love them both. Anyway, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, tea on.